Austin Andrews here with your Beacon. Today we're taking a look at abortion protesters and new laws coming in the upcoming election. While dozens of abortions were performed in the streets of Chicago, a Detroit jury passed down a guilty verdict on 7 protesters who protested an abortion clinic. The 7 protesters include Chester Gallagher, Heather Idoni, Joel Curry, Justin Phillips, Cal Zastro, daughter Eva Zastro, and last, 89-year-old Eva Edl, who were all found guilty of conspiracy against rights and violations of the FACE Act. The FACE Act prevents threats of force, obstruction, and property damage intended to interfere with reproductive health care services and stands for Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act. The 7 protesters face up to 10 years in prison and hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines upon sentencing. Sentencing is pending, going back and forth between the defendants and the Justice Department as the judge considers several motions to dismiss the case. Cal Zastro, upon hearing the verdict, said to the room full of 10 U.S. Marshals, defendants, jurists, and spectators, quote, "Isn't Jesus good? Let's go to the sidewalk and sing," end quote. Ultimately, the charges stem from a peaceful demonstration where the defendants called a, quote, "rescue." This meant that the groups sat and stood outside of the Northland Family Planning Clinic in Michigan alongside a group of pro-life activists. The jury deliberated for only 3.5 hours in the case, and one of the primary arguments made on behalf of the defendants was that they only sought to, quote, "save the babies from slaughter," end quote, and they did not mean to intimidate anyone with the peaceful protest. This is the latest example of the Biden-Harris administration using a new interpretation of the Conspiracy Against Rights statute. This is at least the 3rd time the statute has been used this way. One of the individuals at risk of the 10-year prison sentence is 89-year-old Eva Edl, a woman who spent time in a communist camp in Yugoslavia during the reign of Josip Broz Tito before fleeing to the United States. Eva has now spoken publicly about her life, her time in the communist camps, and her recent conviction here in the United States. Glenn Beck had Eva on his radio program and asked her,
What are your thoughts about what has happened to you in the past and what is happening now?
Well, there is really no difference. You know, I've heard it said, our natural mind can justify anything our evil hearts want to do. During World War II, as we all know, the Nazis justified the extermination of Jews and Gypsies and Slavs and other people simply by using the phrases that they're not quite human yet, according to evolutionary theory. Well, then at the end of the war, when the communists came in, they decided to just say, because you are of an ethnic background of a certain people group, your blood is already evil. So even if you're a newborn baby, you are evil in itself, and you have to be exterminated. And that was their excuse. But I think the main reason for all of it was greed, because now everybody had our fields and our factories given to them because they were communists. That was promised to them. And Nazi Germany, they had other reasons, I suppose. But right now, why are we exterminating babies? Because we're selfish. Nothing has changed. Oh, I have to finish my college years or anything else. But if we don't watch it, the next group of people will be exterminated. You know who that is going to be? The elderly, the sick, the handicapped, because it will cost us too much. Nothing has changed. Evil minds just find different excuses.
Now, in the upcoming election, abortions are also on the ballot, as several states have major ballot initiatives being voted upon regarding abortion rights. In many of the states, the initiatives are masked under the label of reproductive freedom, but nonetheless, the language being used can be manipulated by activist judges to allow abortion into the 3rd trimester and possibly up to the day of birth. Voters in Arizona, Florida, Missouri, Colorado, Maryland, Nevada, New York, and South Dakota are poised to vote on similar measures in November, possibly greenlighting abortion up to birth. Regarding Florida's measure, Trump was asked his stance on the state measure last week, and when Trump responded, it seemed like he may have not fully understood the specifics of the measure he was discussing. Trump responded stating that the 6-week ban on abortion now in effect in Florida was not what he wanted and that he wanted a longer time than that. This reply to the question implied that Trump would vote yes on Amendment 4, an amendment that would write into the state constitution of Florida that no law could be made to restrict abortion at all, leading to the idea that abortion to the day of birth could be allowed in the conservative state. Within 24 hours, Fox News spoke to Trump.
Are you voting yes or no on Amendment 4 in Florida?
So I think 6 weeks, you need more time than 6 weeks. I've disagreed with that right from the early primaries. When I heard about it, I disagreed with it. At the same time, the Democrats are radical because the 9 months is just a ridiculous situation where you can do an abortion in the 9th month. And, you know, some of the states like Minnesota and other states have it where you could actually execute the baby after birth. And all of that stuff is unacceptable. So I'll be voting no for that reason.
While the original answer from Trump was a bit of a stumble, this does not appear to be a Kamala-level reversal, but a more informed, definitive answer given the amendment from Florida in question. Also, a fact check on his statement. One of the states that allow babies that are born alive during a botched abortion to be given no life-saving care to allow them to die is the state of Minnesota, where the vice presidential candidate for the Democrats, Governor Tim Walz, helped pass the law. The state law now does not require any data to be collected about botched abortions, so we do not have current data. But before that change was made, at least 5 babies were reportedly born alive during botched abortions and then refused life-saving care, being killed on the table. Other states, such as Missouri, had the ability to prevent abortion amendments from being added to the November election, but Republicans in the state houses at least bumbled their response, either did it unintentionally or they intentionally refused to defend the state's current ban on all non-medical emergency abortions. Arizona voters will be passing or rejecting a law that, if passed, will enshrine abortion as what Kamala Harris has stated abortion to be. A, quote, fundamental right to abortion, end quote, would be added to the Arizona state constitution. For now, I'm Austin Andrews, and I'll see you on the next report.